Welcome into another edition of New Track Record Podcast from the WELT studios here in Fort Wayne. Caleb Hatch, Justin Kinney with you. We are back.
Back and better than ever.
Are we better than ever?
No, probably not. But we are back, and we're less than a month away from the season opener at St. Pete. Let's go.
Yes. So we had to take a couple weeks off it. We're fine. Everything's fine.
We're good.
The library doing some maintenance on some studios. In fact, they're opening up a separate podcast studio soon. So
we gave them our list of demands to continue to record here, and they finally met them. So
if only that were true. They told us when we came on over here that, yes, we're working on a podcast studio, and we were told originally it was supposed to be last fall, like October, November, but I was told today, so we record this on Thursday, February 6th, Thursday night, like the old times.
Yes.
You record Thursday nights like the old times.
Yeah.
But I was told, hey, this could be open as soon as next week, so exciting stuff here. But, 2 weeks off, there have been some things happen, but nothing too crazy. I think there are about 3 to 4 things we want to highlight. I actually just thought of a fourth. So, Number one, IndyCar streaming. Venue Sports is dead. Fox doesn't have something. What IndyCar is doing to kind of fill the gap, and I know people are, of course, unhappy about it. We'll get to that here shortly.
People unhappy? IndyCar fans unhappy?
Yeah, right?
Really?
We have, let's see, Tim Cindric stepping down as the president at Team Penske over everything, but still staying on in a different role, IndyCar related. We have Michael Cannon leaving PREMA, which I think came out a day after we had our last episode. And then also, I forgot about this, Nashville Super Speedway, Penske Entertainment taking over as the promoter there.
Yes,
so
we'll get into
kind
that.
of our 4 big things. Let's start, I guess, with the streaming. So Fox obviously doesn't have a streaming platform. Now, they are going to stream the Super Bowl on Tubi for free this weekend. A lot of people have pointed to, hey, could they stream races on Tubi eventually? Maybe.
Yeah.
I would think we might see the Indy 500.
Definitely.
Maybe Daytona 500.
Yes.
On Tubi. We'll see. If Sunday goes well, then I could see them doing that. They're working on a streaming platform for Fox, not just Fox Sports, but across the Fox properties. Set to come out, late this year? They said
late 2025, so it doesn't do anything for this season, but looks hopeful that by this time next year, we will have a dedicated Fox streamer where you'll have an option, hopefully, to see all the practices, qualifying, races through the stream.
Yes. So what we have now, and this was leaked to us by one of our listeners, thank you to Nick Fletcher. Always good to catch up with you at Indy, usually on qualifying weekend. But so he had IndyCar Live, but obviously used a VPN as opposed to Peacock. And he got an email, tipped us off to this. And I love the headline because it says, Access USA is changing for the 2025 season. Now, he used, I think, because IndyCar Live is not available until now in the U.S., I think he was using Sweden or Denmark or something as his VPN location.
Of course.
But what it says, and this is what has people kind of up in arms, but $20 a year, you get the entire season, every practice, every qualifying, every race on a 24-hour delay. Now, what is interesting, it says access to 14 onboard cameras for each race weekend, full highlights immediately following each race, access to exclusive IndyCar video and content library. And he also said that it does seem like the in-car cameras are live. He said he read the fine print, live IndyCar in-car cameras and replay IndyCar in-car cameras available in the package. So you could probably get the live in-car cameras, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Here's my thing. I feel like a lot of the people, not all, but a lot of the people utilize Peacock to watch stuff after the fact, not live.
Exhibit A, right here.
Yeah. So, and I guess I get that people are upset because, it's not live. Here's the thing. Every race is on free-to-air TV. Yes, qualifying's delayed 24 hours. The race is delayed 24 hours.
I guess there's a certain amount of people, and I know you do this too, where you would just have practice on in the background while you're doing something else, whether you're working or whatever.
Yeah.
Technically, you're not going to be able to do that unless like us, we have YouTube TV. We can access it through a computer if we're not at home and do that. But for people that don't have that, obviously that. But I know it's a vocal amount of people. It's the people that listen to podcasts like this. But it's just not a lot of people.
Correct. And here's my thing. I get that people want to be upset with IndyCar. That, oh, this is the best you have. Look, IndyCar was put in a bind with this. Venue Sports was good to go.
Right.
It was going to launch, and it was going to take over and be this option, and that obviously did not happen. So they're trying to make the best of it, and I'm fine with the setup. I think IndyCar eventually needs to do it, and I've said this for a long time, do a season-long package where you pay $100 or $125 or $150. You get everything live, all the in-car cameras, every race, qualifying, warm-up, practice, whatever, and that's the way for these streamers to do it. And also IndyCar controls that money. Like they would have the streaming rights. I think that is coming. Obviously, probably not with this TV deal with Fox because they already have obviously kind of put something together with that. But I think that's coming down the road, maybe the next TV deal.
Perhaps, yeah, well, the next TV deal, I think that's the biggest thing that you said, because with the amount of investment that Fox is making into IndyCar, my theory is, why would Fox agree to IndyCar saying, well, we're going to have a separate subscription-based entity where people can access content, IndyCar content, that Fox is also putting on? Because Fox is going to say, oh, we're the ones paying for this content, and we want all the content. And you know what? If you want to put IndyCar content on a stream, you can just wait until we have our own stream in 2026. And that's kind of where I see this thing going. I just, to me, the massive commitment that Fox has made is almost a detriment to what people would like IndyCar to put together in terms of how it used to be. Because Fox is saying, look, we're putting every single race on network television. It's unprecedented for the better part of what? When's the last time every race was on network television? Never, right? I mean, we
got close with NBC a couple years ago where it was all but like 3.
That was
one on
first
Peacock
year or second year.
I think the first year
NBC.
Of all NBC.
Correct.
With the deal. I think you had 1 race on Peacock and 2 on USA and the rest on NBC.
Yeah.
Something like that.
For me, the commitment that Fox is making to IndyCar takes that option away. And you know what? It is what it is. And yes, you brought up a great point in the fact that I lived on Peacock the last several years. I would have practice and qualifying delayed on the computer. I'm now going to have to figure out what I'm going to do. Obviously, I can just DVR it on YouTube TV and watch it later, but it was so easy on the computer to just pull up Peacock and watch it, even on my phone in the car. Don't do that at home, folks, but you know, we'll just have practice or something on in the car. So yeah, it's makes things inconvenient for me, but you know what? I can clearly see the advantages of the Fox deal enough to say, you know what? A little bit more inconvenience for me is better for the whole of IndyCar. And I think there's not enough people out there that can see that. They're the me. This is making things difficult for me, as opposed to seeing this is something that makes the whole of IndyCar better and more accessible to casual fans that are needed to see this sport grow.
Short term, the TV deal is great. Long term, yes, you need to improve the streaming package, but I'm not placing the blame on IndyCar. How can they not feel caught off guard when venue completely collapsed and that is not what anyone expected?
And it's not IndyCar's fault.
No.
Here's kind of a sidebar to that. In terms of 2025, every race on Fox, do you think this is a 1-year thing that we'll see that? And not saying that all of a sudden next year there's only going to be 6 races on Fox, but next year, 2026, do you feel there's going to be 13 races on network and 4 on FS1? Do you feel like This is a one and done. Is it based on ratings?
I think it's based because they have more availability because the NASCAR package changed.
Yeah.
I really think that's why.
Is it and I'm sure nobody's even said this at Fox, but is it we're doing this 1 year and then we'll see how it looks, and then, or do you think it's, hey, we're committed to this for the next 2-3 years? I don't know. I don't have any answers. I feel like this time next year, do you feel like we're talking about an all Fox schedule, or do you feel like there's going to be a couple races on FS1?
I can't think that far ahead.
I'm always thinking ahead.
I am day to day due to having an infant at home. It's just
hour to hour sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes. But I do think that next year, this year is good in the fact that it's very easily accessible on Fox. But if we go into future years, like we saw with NBC, is with each preceding year, you saw more and more races not on NBC. I think if that's the case with Fox, it's really going to be good to have this streaming service in place. Oh,
for sure. And I think they'll get it fixed for the next year. And related to Fox, I don't really have anything else to add on this topic.
No, but I think something huge for Fox is going to be being able to put their NFL coverage on a streaming service.
Yes.
Paramount, I think that has been a big push for Paramount's growth. For subscribers.
Yeah, with Paramount Plus and CBS.
With Paramount Plus and CBS, yeah. I mean, take that away from Paramount, I'd be interested to see where their bottom line is at. But I think it's definitely, we talk IndyCar centric, but a huge, massive bullet in the chamber, so to speak, for Fox in their stream is right away being able to put Fox games on their stream.
And again, I'm sure there are lots of people, CBS, Fox, NBC, ABC in the U.S., PBS, they're all free.
They
Just
are.
buy an antenna, $20 to $30, hook it up to your TV. There you go.
You're good to go to watch every single race this year.
Yes. And I get that not everyone has, good signal where they live, whatnot, but majority of people, if you're close to a city center,
yes,
you can get this access for free. Speaking of Fox, a couple other quick notes. The Alex Palou ad debuted. Good. I think the Newgarden one was slightly better.
I agree.
Palou one was good.
I liked it. I also felt like it just felt kind of rushed, which is weird to say because it was very similar to the Joseph Newgarden one.
The Newgarden one, I think they just nailed it so perfectly.
They absolutely nailed, and maybe our expectations now are too high. I mean, it's still really, really good. I'm not criticizing. It just felt like it just didn't hit as much as the Newgarden one did for me.
I would agree. And then Pato Ward ad coming sometime this Sunday during Super Bowl Sunday on Fox. Will be during the game. We don't know yet. I doubt
think that's
it.
a big ask.
I think it could happen pregame.
Pregame, right. I think maybe in the half hour before the game kicks off.
Which, again, you're still talking a massive audience even at that point in the day.
I mean, maybe we see it in the fourth quarter, maybe. But
that would be incredible.
I would be surprised if
too.
It's during the broadcast, the Super Bowl broadcast at least.
And then one other note on the Super Bowl, Jack Harvey and his partner Invest will be in New Orleans Super Bowl Sunday for an exclusive players tailgate. World-class chefs, celebrities, and music. That from Nathan Brown of the Indy Star. So a couple Super Bowl and IndyCar-related things. And I'm just going to throw this out there. I bet we see an IndyCar driver at the Super Bowl.
Do you think like they show him on the Fox broadcast? Not even during the game, but pregame?
There will be some tie-in beyond just the Pato ad playing. Okay. I guess that's what I'm going to go with.
At some point on Sunday on Fox.
Yeah. Whether it's pregame, whether it's at the game.
You think a driver will be there. It won't just be a 25-second blurb on Daytona coming up next Sunday and the Indianapolis 500 or IndyCar coming. You think it's going to be
I think there will be a driver
on the ground
at some point. Now, whether it's, like I said, pregame, during the game, it won't just be the Pato promo that's my prediction.
I think like pregame, quote unquote pregame, doesn't it start at like 1:00 noon something on Fox?
I don't know. I'm not watching.
No. I have actually become more of. I'm almost like you in this respect because you talk about pre-race, at least pre-race on NBC, and how you wouldn't watch. I do watch pre-race, but I've become more and more. Tell me when the kickoff of a particular game is.
NBA, learn the lesson.
But even like college football playoff, it was like, and it was almost impossible to find. Like, tell me when kickoff time is. You and I, Notre Dame fans, played in the national championship game. Even that, I was like, just tell me when they're kicking off. And I'm like that with the Super Bowl. I want to turn it on, maybe national anthem, whatever, but I'm perfectly content with as soon as I turn it on, the ball's in the air to start the game. And that's like you with IndyCar.
I would agree. Yes.
Now, are you going to make more of a concerted effort to watch Fox pre-race?
Yes, just because it's the first year of, and they're going to have tighter TV windows, so I don't have to worry about crazy long pre-race shows. And one other note on the Super Bowl and IndyCar, this from Nathan Brown as well. So we'll get the Pato Award promo on Super Bowl Sunday and Fox, obviously. Also says, I'm told a bunch of promotional possibilities are still up in the air in terms of how Fox can plug its newest property. So look for something else.
You know what will be interesting, and maybe we can delve into this a little bit more next week.
Wait, sorry. I read the wrong thing. Bill Batten, who is SVP of on-air promotions for Fox, said IndyCar will be featured, quote, pretty prominently throughout the whole Super Bowl Sunday. So there you go.
How about that? And then I think a week later, how much do we see during Daytona 500 coverage?
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, could we see an IndyCar driver at Daytona?
Oh, definitely.
You think so?
Yeah.
It's going to... Do you think that upsets NASCAR fans as much as it upsets certain IndyCar fans about cross promotions?
Yes. Yes.
Just interesting. I think.
Remember, Elio Castroneves will be
racing in it. Well, I'm saying, if it's
beyond
part of the pre-game or pre-race Daytona, Joseph Newgarden's there to talk.
I would fully expect Joseph Newgarden to probably be there and have a presence.
But I guarantee we'll probably see all three commercials through the course of the Daytona 500. Definitely an in-race mention of the IndyCar series coming to Fox, all that stuff. Yeah. So I think the next two Sundays, particularly Daytona 500 Sunday, I think we'll see a lot of IndyCar promotions.
All right, let's get to one of the other elements within the last couple weeks. And this was, I think, a big surprise, but he is staying on as president of IndyCar operations. Tim Cindric stepping down as president of Team Penske. Now, when he started at Team Penske, in 1999? Is that right?
Man.
Which would have been Elio's first year. He was just with the IndyCar side. Then he added what was it? ALMS at the time.
Yeah.
And then NASCAR. And then obviously they expanded with V8 supercars and so on. So he's stepping back. It'll be an IndyCar focus on his role. He said nothing happening personally or professionally. It's time for him to kind of take a step back and slow down and be able to enjoy life. And props to him. One, having the ability to do that and stay on and still be the head of the IndyCar operations. He'll continue to be Joseph Newgarden's strategist with the team in terms of the realignment. Michael Nelson will be president of Team Penske's NASCAR program, be in that role still, and VP of operations. Jonathan Duagood will be the managing director of Porsche Penske Motorsport. Remember, Duagood has been an IndyCar engineer off and on for Penske. They will report to Roger Penske. This from Jenna Fryer. And then Ron Rzuski will be continuing on as managing director on the IndyCar side. And Tim Cindric also, I didn't know about this, he'll continue to have oversight to the team's racing archives and historical assets.
That's pretty cool.
That's cool.
It makes me wonder, is this going to be a position that Team Penske tries to then fill, or will they go away from somebody as being the president of Team Penske?
Yeah, will it be individual roles, or will they have like a replacement?
Or is it, each arm of Team Penske has a leader that then reports to the board or, whatever, the family, who knows? But I just can't imagine trying to run an operation like that across multiple disciplines, especially at the level that is expected at Team Penske. And you can definitely say that over a quarter century of Tim Cindric being in a role like this, between IndyCar and IMSA and NASCAR and everything, they have been insanely successful. And so he's done his job. This is no demotion or anything like that. It's probably the guy that's like, you know what, I'm getting to the age where I'm just freaking burned out and I just want to focus on one thing.
Yeah.
And props to him. what Team Penske has done over the last 20, 25 years, Tim Cindric has been a big part of. And
he's 56 years old.
Still looks 36, by the way.
Yeah. He joined Penske in October of 99. I didn't know this. He was the team manager for Team Rahal from 94 to 99 before he was promoted to president of Penske Racing. And remember, back then, Penske's NASCAR operation was kind of separate. And they merged everything together, one shop, one kind of program. And it's not just IndyCar that they've had a lot of success. I mean, think about it when he took over at Penske in 99. Greg Moore just passed, and Elio Castroneves comes in, kind of unknown, unproven guy in the IndyCar world, and obviously had success with him, winning 3 Indy 500s with the team. Penske Racing, which used to be, Penske Racing South or whatever?
Right, yeah.
And the NASCAR program was always just kind of middle of the pack, and then they've had so much success really in the last decade or so. In particular, they've really kind of caught up to Hendrick Motorsports, in the last 4 or 5 years, it feels like.
Consolidation with everything around Charlotte has been huge.
So they have had a lot of success. IndyCar, NASCAR, obviously Porsche, Penske Motorsports been a powerhouse. I mean, they just won Daytona a couple weeks ago again. So this is him stepping away at the top.
Definitely. And what he's done has been nothing short of tremendous. And now he's going to be able to just focus on IndyCar and maybe have an hour or two for himself at some point during the year, as opposed to doing all of this for Team Penske. He's been phenomenal for the organization. He deserves to go out on his own terms in terms of this position, and that's what he did. And how it will affect the IndyCar team, it can only help to have Tim Cindric around more often.
Oh, no doubt.
And maybe it allows him then, you forget about a little bit about his son being racing for Team Penske, maybe being more of a dad to watch Austin Cindric, or at least on the ground without worrying about every little thing involved in the NASCAR weekends with Team Penske. Maybe allows him to watch his son do what he does as more of a dad than an employee.
And Nathan Brown of the Indy Star had a good story on this with Tim basically sending Roger a note, hey, I want to, step away. And then he clarified, I'm not talking to other teams. I've only talked about this with my wife. Just want to kind of reset. Yeah. And Roger's like, okay, let's come to Detroit. We'll talk about it. We'll make it work. And they figured it out. And like you said, I think the underrated aspect, and Tim Cindric kind of talked about this, but look, he's been so busy, racing is, consumes most of his time.
Right.
And so the opportunity to go to Daytona and a lot of the NASCAR races, because the IndyCar schedule is so condensed compared to Cup, especially now where it ends Labor Day weekend with the new Fox deal, there's more opportunity for him to just go and enjoy and kind of be a part of it and not be working.
Right.
Which is, you want that.
I mean, yeah, especially at his age, and, he's not old, but he's older and, approaching that. Maybe, I don't know,
he's 56,
if Austin Cindric is married, but, maybe he has other kids, maybe just looking forward to being a grandpa too and spending time with his grandkids. So, you get older, you got less and less energy, and you got more kids and grandkids you want to spoil, and the wife, I'm sure, is a big part of it too, and wanting him around a little bit longer. It just makes a little bit more, so it just makes a lot of sense, and he's definitely earned it for sure.
Did you know? I did not know this, but Tim Cindric is married to the daughter of former IndyCar team owner, Red Roof-In founder Jim Truman, the late Jim Truman.
I did not know that at all.
So Austin Cindric, the grandson of the late Jim Truman. Didn't know that.
Interesting. Me neither.
Yeah.
How about that?
So that's a little cool fact to it. Yes, I just think it's so much more than just the racing element. I think the personal life element too is a big role here. Yes. And moving on, and from personal life to personnel, Michael Cannon stepping away from PREMA. This was right before their first test, essentially at Thermal, which did go well. They had a couple gremlins early on, but Ryan Briscoe, who's the sporting director, very pleased. They were within pace at Thermal a couple weeks ago with other teams, including Andretti. Jacob Abel was there as well with Dale Coyne. So a very successful first test, but Michael Cannon not going to be a part of it. And this was just a shocking announcement when it was made a couple weeks ago.
It was, and I think it was in a story that Marshall Pruitt wrote on Racer. There's more to the story, but he wasn't at liberty to go into details. Was it a personality clash? Was it a job description not matching the expectation? Such things? Was it, just hard-headedness of somebody? Who knows? But it's a big loss for PREMA, but at least through one test, didn't seem to affect him too much.
He did release a statement and said this in particular that stood out. In very short order, I felt that the majority of my advice and counsel was being disregarded or simply ignored. It was my opinion that my time at PREMA was not going to be used wisely, and I thusly resigned my position.
Well, look at it this way. So Michael Cannon has built his way up in North American motorsports, and he goes to a European powerhouse team that's coming over to the United States. So you have a guy that's used to how things are done in the States. You have an organization come over used to how things are run in Europe. And I could see how that could be a clash. Michael Cannon says, no, you got to do things over here like this. And PREMA's going, no, this is how we do things, and we're just going to do those same processes over here. I could see that. I'm not saying we know anything, and maybe it's not even related to that, but I could see in terms of decision-making and how you go about things, that could be a clash.
Well, and think about this. We all know, like in racing, how things are done in America compared to in Europe, with IndyCar compared to F1 and the other junior formula categories. It could not be different in terms of the attitudes and how business is conducted. It's more of a family atmosphere in the U.S., and in Europe, it's pretty cutthroat. And maybe Michael Cannon is saying, hey, this is not the philosophy and the style here in the U.S. You can do it this way, and that's fine, but I don't want to be a part of it. Who knows? But it's a massive, massive loss for the team. They at least had a successful first test. They have drivers who are talented, but this is huge loss for them in terms of integrating themselves into IndyCar.
Well, and another thing, too, is we don't want to say one side is right, one side is wrong, but now you look at Michael Cannon, who couldn't agree on a financial number to stay with Foyt. We've heard enough to know that was really kind of the dynamic that was going on. The parties just couldn't come to a mutual agreement on how much Michael Cannon was worth effectively for that team. And then you have Cannon out at a team now before they even start racing, let alone before they even tested. So, it's just sometimes you just have hard personalities, and there's a lot of those in auto racing. And
really?
It's not pointing fingers at one side or the other. It's just, when you have a lot of people set in their ways and how things are supposed to go and what the expectations are and what I'm worth and what you're worth. And I can see how disagreements can happen. But for Michael Cannon, what's this do? Yes, he has a good track record, a very good track record, but you also aren't making friends in the paddock either. What's the hesitancy of now another team looking to hire Michael Cannon when he's effectively left two teams in the off season? So there's that too.
And he's a guy who's jumped around with many teams in the IndyCar paddock and doesn't usually stay for more than a couple years.
Does he just like to take over reclamation projects and turn them around and then go to the next one? Or is there philosophical differences after time? Is there, look what I've done for you, you owe me now type thing after a couple years, and a team's like, you know what, we can afford to let you go? I don't know. There's a lot of questions and not too many answers that we have. It's just, it's just like kind of like drivers when you're kind of things go south with a team, other teams pick up on that. and that can affect who hires you. And it'll be interesting to see how this offseason affects who the next team is to hire Michael Cannon.
And then finally, the other big headline when we were gone, that is Nashville Super Speedway no longer going to be promoted by Scott Borchetta. It'll still keep Big Machine Records as the sponsor, but Penske Entertainment taking over. And I think maybe the other story is Nathan Brown reporting the Indy Star. They were trying to have an altered IndyCar championship format for last year.
Not needed.
No, certainly not. This isn't NASCAR.
No, what is it? 17 of the last 18 years, the championship's been decided the last race, something like that. I understand them trying to inject some additional excitement into the final race, but you don't need to. Is kind of the thing. But
I would agree.
The bigger concern is Scott Borchetta has done such a tremendous job. I mean, just look at last year when we thought this race was DOA moving to an oval that's not even close to downtown Nashville, and was effectively going to ruin the event. And at least through one iteration of it, it exceeded everybody's expectations in terms of the event, in terms of the attendance. He did a bang-up job, and I think it's a loss for IndyCar for him to exit. I think, yes, while IndyCar is going to pick up yet another event that it's going to promote from within, outside entities, outside promoters are great because they bring ideas to the table that aren't otherwise thought of. It's good because you have outside entities that want to invest in an IndyCar event. And for whatever happened, the bottom line is Scott Borchetta looked at it and said, this is no longer worth my investment in terms of as active as he has been in the past. And I think
still
that's
sponsoring, which is good.
Still, but okay, that's good. But compared to what Scott Borchetta was doing the last several years since the Music City GP got its start and how invested he was, he has basically looked at this and said, it's not worth my time anymore. And I think that's concerning.
Let's go through the schedule because Penske Entertainment is taking on a lot of the promotion.
I mean, all but what, 5 races now?
So Long Beach, they have that now, right?
Yep.
Well, they have ownership, which I mean, I guess technically they would have promotion as well. IMS Road Course race, obviously the Indy 500, Detroit. The doubleheader Iowa.
Yep.
And Milwaukee Mile, and now Nashville. So that is 8
of the
17 races. Now you have
thermal, I bet.
True.
I mean, technically there's not much promotion going on, but I'd count that.
That's, I guess, so I guess you could say 9. And then you have Green Saturday, which does St. Pete. They do Mid-Ohio. They do Toronto. They do Portland. And then you have Barber, which has their own promoter. I think it's Zoom Motorsports.
Laguna Seca too?
Laguna Seca is local.
Okay.
A local group. And then who are we missing? Road America, which is just
Barber?
Barber is done by like a local group.
Okay.
And then Road America, and then Gateway, obviously they promote themselves. So, but yeah, that's the bulk of the schedule. Not that it's a bad thing. It's an interesting shift because for the longest time in IndyCar, if you go back 15 years
Remember
plus,
they said they weren't going to get in the business?
Yes.
Even for Roger Penske initially was saying that.
It was always, okay, you show up with the check, with this, you pay us the $1 million or whatever to host the race. You find the sponsor.
Yeah.
We'll show up with our series and our drivers, and you do all the promotion. Well, it's been a big shift from what it used to be.
And I think part of it is concerning because, like I mentioned, you don't have as many outside entities that look at IndyCar as a worthy investment to promote because it's next to impossible to make a profit. But at the same time, if IndyCar controls these promotional things, they can really target and build the promotions the way they want. My thing is, do you have confidence based on what we've seen under Roger Penske that the marketing and promotions department knows how to build excitement for events?
I would say yes.
You think so?
I feel like the IMS Road Course race has actually gotten better in terms of ticket sales in the last couple of years.
I think,
Indy 500's obviously been
definitely
growing.
I think you take May out of it.
Okay. Well, then you look at Milwaukee. That was a success in year one. You look at Iowa. Nashville. That was a success in year one. Iowa.
Well, that was Scott Borchetta was Nashville.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. Iowa's been a success. Now we'll see moving forward.
With Hy-Vee money, it's been a success.
Yeah.
I don't think that has much to do with IndyCar, quite frankly.
Let's see. Detroit's been a success, especially since they moved it downtown. I know that a lot of people...
Well, that's just been one race downtown.
Yeah, but that was a success in terms of ticket sales in the event.
Okay.
Who are we missing?
Long Beach, it'll be the first time.
Yeah, it'll be the first time. Thermal
is a kind of special case, I guess. I don't know. I like outside promoters because it brings unique ideas into the fold. And plus, more often than not, these are local promoters that know the people that live around these, know who to target, know which businesses to partner up with. I think it helps to have a more local feel with some of these races, and that's just going away. And a large part is that it is very difficult to make money paying the sanctioning fee for an IndyCar race and coming out in the black. And I think Scott Borchetta probably has not made very much money, if any money.
Well, and part of it was because when you do a street race, it takes several years.
Very true. And then you take it away.
To make the money back.
And I think maybe he's also seeing, okay, we know that the race isn't going back to Nashville for the foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm.
If it ever does, could Scott Borchetta be like, I'm going to check out either until it goes back to the street race, or maybe he knows something we don't, and it'll never go back to the streets of Nashville.
I would be shocked if it ever goes back.
So I think Scott Borchetta got initially invested in the Music City Grand Prix when it was a downtown event and it was a huge party-like atmosphere downtown Nashville. And now that that's been taken away, he's lost interest.
Well, it's a lot harder to get artists, to drive all the way out to Lebanon, Tennessee, compared to downtown Nashville, just off Broadway.
Absolutely. So we'll see how this is managed. I would be surprised if Nashville Superspeedway year 2, year 3, year 4 goes as well as year 1 did. And a lot of that had to do with Scott Borchetta's efforts.
I would be surprised if we see Nashville as the finale on the schedule next year. I'm not saying it goes away. I just think there could be another option. We'll see. I like it as a season-ending race. In terms of the location, it makes sense.
Well, and everybody wants a little season-ending race on an oval. Okay. Doesn't really affect... I'm not really either way. I don't really care what the last race is, but... 1 year.
We thought Laguna Seca would be boring, but
it was far
got a lot of chaos,
right? So year 1 was fine. What exceeded expectations. That doesn't mean this is all of a sudden going to become a staple on the schedule that's going to bring in the amount of fans we saw year 1, especially with now the promoter exiting.
Yeah, we'll see. Year 2 is a lot harder, like you said, to get that level of success. And I think the one positive that helps IndyCar, again, consistency and network. That all the races are on Fox. You build to the end of that year, and you're not dwarfed by the NFL this time.
Right.
I think there's a real opportunity that there was not the last couple years.
Very true. Because the Titans were in town.
I think,
that week too. So, yeah, there is some reason to be. I guess there's some reason to be optimistic for year 2 at Nashville, but how many times do we hear a promoter, year 1 did this, but we're going to, we need to make this change and we're excited for year 2. Now that goes away with Borchetta. Now you have IndyCar coming in to promote, and it leaves a lot to be desired in my mind.
If you agree or disagree with us, we'd love for you to interact with us. You can always find us on social media, on Twitter/X, and on Instagram. Our handle is IndyCar Podcast. You can find us on Facebook. Just search for New Track Record. You can email us, newtrackrecordpodcast@gmail.com. Send us your questions, comments, rants. Support us via Patreon, patreon.com/newtrackrecord. Thanks to Xavier and others for their support. And as always, download and listen for free on your favorite podcasting platforms, whether that is Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find podcasts. Okay, mailbag time, and we're going to focus a lot on the streaming conversation because that was kind of the bulk of what happened in the last week or so. A lot of people with questions on how this is going to work in terms of with IndyCar Live and whatnot, and with takes on this. So positives and negatives. We'll start with, I guess, people's complaints largely. Marati Autosport said Peacock was far superior. 24-hour delay is not a serious effort. Poet Shevchenko said, count me in to purchase it. So there's a win. Elsewhere, a lot of people also mentioning 24-hour delay. Someone else, 500 Indy 1911. IndyCar Live isn't checks notes live. Samuelus said, not bad. I don't mind waiting one day to watch the races. I live in a place where I just can't get broadcast TV, so this will work great. And again, there are those people.
Yeah.
In terms of not being able to get the signal. Lots of people comments about the delay of 24 hours. Again, several more on that. Another one on this. Lynn _IndyCar said, wow, IndyCar is destroying the news cycle with their Fox commercials and now this new option. You guys outscoop Adam Stern. Is this a new track record podcast, Bob? Yes, it is. We were the first to get this. Thank you to one of our listeners for giving us this tip, because this is the plan. Now, meanwhile, you had posted this, could not agree more. How many people complaining about having to get cable to watch IndyCar quals and practice complained years ago when they had to get a streaming service to watch the same thing? Some folks just like to whine. Look, it's never going back to the way it was 15 years ago when every practice and qualifying in a race was streaming on YouTube and on IndyCar.com with the IndyCar radio mixed in. Those were the glory days.
Those were the glory days, but it was also grew the sport zero.
Yeah.
Right?
We all miss that, right? But that's not coming back.
But that's not coming back. It's just, but I do think, I think these very same people, the majority of them were like, wait, you're telling me I have to pay for an app, a streaming app, to watch IndyCar practice when I used to be able to watch it on YouTube for free or whatever? It's the same people. I mean, things evolve, folks.
NBC Sports Gold, Peacock.
Gosh, that takes me back.
Now
NBC
it's
Sports Gold.
now it's IndyCar Live. Rob _McMahon said bingo. Elsewhere, Lena _IndyCar said, how many people watch practice on Peacock? In the great words of Allen Iverson, we talk about practice.
Not as many as you
think.
People would think, or else there'd be a better option.
Racer Mac RTP1 said, the same delusional fans who think that every on-track session should be an over-the-air television should be on over-the-air television and commercial free.
Oh yeah,
you get that with IndyCar fans, and people would be mad because I can't access it on an app, so you can't win. Jeremy from HPG said, I got Peacock for $20 a year to watch all qualifying and practice the last couple years. And I did watch, not always live. I would pay $100 a year direct to IndyCar for the same thing. And again, I think that's coming, just not yet.
Not yet. But I think as soon as next year, you may not have an IndyCar specific. You'll just have Fox, and you'll get everything Fox.
Yes. AJ Abate _ said, it's almost as if there is no such thing as a free lunch. Nick J. Fletcher said, I spill more money in beer on Fast Friday than IndyCar Live costs. Sign me up. Ben _Neil _ said, IndyCar and Penske Entertainment have plenty of flaws, but the majority of the IndyCar fan base is impossible to please. And Tommy the Tree 01 said, nailed it. So surprisingly, people agreeing on that post, but when we roll out, hey, this is what they're doing, everyone's complaining about the 24-hour delay. Can't win.
Nope, not at all.
Just cannot win. A couple other mailbag items to get to. We talked about Tubi, and you said patience IndyCar streamers in terms of the Fox package. That's story from Racer, that being rolled out. Jeremy from HBG saying a pay level to Tubi could be fun as long as they don't stray from the mom and pop video store vibe it has in many parts of it. There's a lot of good movies on Tubi.
I like Tubi.
I was checking it out the other day.
I watch a lot of classic war movies on Tubi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in terms of Tubi, don't look for every IndyCar race to be on there.
Correct.
But I would expect the Indy 500 to show up and Daytona on there as well.
Maybe not Fox. Live, maybe. As you mentioned, we'll see how the Super Bowl goes. But I could see it archived on there.
And again, this is the first time the Super Bowl is streamed for free
anywhere.
Anywhere.
right?
It's been streamed previously, but you had to have
Paramount
whatever
Plus
app or
right.
Peacock or whatever.
Yeah.
You do have to sign up with an email address in advance.
But that's it, folks, on Tubi. You don't have to pay a cent for Tubi.
Someone else talking about the IndyCar Live said, this Zoko Chinchi, I hope I got that right. They have to make sure we can see the podiums on replay, even if they cut it live. So true. They used to do that on NBC all the time.
Well, they were embarrassed at the podiums. That's why they did that.
Yeah.
At least they should have been.
The Lynn_IndyCar on Tim Cindric said, at certain times of your life, most people like to slow down and enjoy life. Maybe Tim needs to do this, but his track record with IndyCar and NASCAR has been outstanding the last 3 years. Absolutely.
I mean, well said. I wouldn't be surprised if in a couple years Tim Cindric is done altogether. I mean, the guy's 4 years away from 60. Maybe he's looked at it and said, okay, at 60 years old, I'm going to be done for.
I mean, this Chad 200 posted this, and it kind of related. The last 1,071 days for Team Penske. 2 Rolex 24 overall wins, 2 Indy 500s, 3 NASCAR Cup titles, an IndyCar Championship, IMSA Championship, WEC Championship, Daytona 500 win.
They're doing decent.
Yeah, they're doing pretty good. Doing pretty good indeed. I am analog, so we had posted back when, hey, we're going to be off a couple weeks, said, quick, IndyCar announced new international races, third OEM, and a video game. Yeah, if only they had all that come down during that time. They did not.
No.
Letting us down.
Thanks for the news cycle for not being too crazy the last couple weeks.
Yeah, they gave us a break. And then thoughts on Nashville. Brady BC3 said, without a dedicated in-city partner, I could see this one going away. Yeah, that's the fear. And Lynn_IndyCar said, I feel like this oval is Band-Aid for 2 years till the race returns to the streets of Nashville or to a new finale in Denver 2027. 2026, we'll see new races in Arlington, Mexico City. Yeah, we'll get more on Denver in a bit. But yes, I agree on that. That's where it seems like this is going.
Yeah, I just I don't see the Nashville Oval being around for very long, despite year one.
And then finally, this from Push to Past. 1, great podcast I hadn't found before. Well, thank you. 2, yeah.
Huh.
2, Will Buxton will be an out-and-out draw for F1 casuals. We'll see his involvement as a legitimizer for IndyCar and check it out just to see him. 3rd, I miss what Jan Beekes used to do. There it is. It always goes back to Jan Beekes in the broadcast.
Yes. We all miss Jan.
Absolutely. So that's the mailbag. Let's shift to news and notes and a lot of small items, a lot of driver announcements for the series formerly known as Indy Lights. So we'll start off with that. They're up to 21. There's one car that's not quite full-time that's shared, but 21 cars listed on the Wikipedia page, which we all know is 100% accurate.
Yes.
So you have Jack William Miller joining Able Motorsports with Miller Vinatieri Motorsports. So that'll be a partnership for a sophomore season.
Okay.
So he's and one of the other drivers. We have a million with between Able and HMD and Andretti. That's pretty much most of the grid.
Right.
Max Taylor will be with HMD Motorsports for a partial season in Indy Lights alongside a full season in USF Pro 2000.
Man, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a mouthful. You have Nikita Johnson, partial schedule in the number 18 with HMD, St. Petersburg, Indy, and Nashville. And then Max Taylor, as I mentioned, will be at Barber, Detroit, Iowa, WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, and Milwaukee Mile. So that's one that's not quite the full season, but basically the full season.
Okay.
And then I think there might be one more. Keep looking. Yes, Seb Murray will join the Andretti Cape Indy Lights program for 2025 as well. So their 2-car partnership driver lineup complete as well. But again, races, in fact, the schedule is out for St. Pete in terms of TV. So Indy Lights will be on FS2 for practice 1, practice 2, qualifying. The race will be on FS1. So, look, this is exposure that's huge for
definitely
Indy Lights.
I hope we get, well, we will be able to get some accurate numbers for Indy Lights races on FS1.
If they get 100,000, that's massive.
It's just going to be a huge boon, and I really haven't seen enough attention, I think, on what this means for the junior series with Indy Lights. I know, like, Fox, IndyCar on Fox is huge, but the fact that every single one of your Indy Lights races is going to be on FS1 is just astounding. I mean, when's the last time an Indy Lights race outside of the Freedom 100 has been on over-the-air television? Were they ever on
I don't
NBC?
know.
I don't think so, right?
So.
I mean, were they on Versus? I mean, I can't remember. It's just, it's going to be pretty crazy. And even, like you said, even if you get, 100,000 would just be insane, I think. I mean, you barely got 350,000 to watch the finale last year on network television. So if they could get 100,000 for a couple early season lights races, that'd be insanity and great for the series.
Oh, without a doubt. Meanwhile, in IndyCar, in terms of the driver's side, nothing really new. We're still waiting on that remaining Dale Coyne seat. Hopefully, Rinus VeeKay, he was at Thermal, and I think there are rumors that Michael Cannon is sniffing around with Coyne. Who knows?
For now.
But a lot of livery announcements have been rolled out. Joseph Newgarden will have the same look for the Indy 500 as he's had the last couple years, and Joey Logano going with that same look for Cup for Daytona. Scott Dixon's livery, Alex Palou, the Juncos cars with Stingray Robb, Connor Daly.
Even wasn't there something
Andretti as well?
The diecast drop
of Kyle Larson.
Kyle Larson's car, which looks pretty similar to last year, but
not as much. Different kind of color orange. It's different from what it was.
But it was, I don't think that was supposed to be leaked yet. But.
No, I don't think so. Do you have a favorite from what you've seen so far?
I thought the Andretti liveries were pretty sharp.
I would agree.
Very, very eye-catching, I felt.
And speaking, we talked about Joseph Newgarden, Indy 500. So Roger Penske and Newgarden got their baby Borgs as well. That was in Detroit a couple weeks ago. Let's get to international races and future races. So which one do you want to start with?
International races, always.
Okay. So, as always, Indy 44, finding these exciting nuggets in terms of what could be for IndyCar. And this goes back to Australia.
Oh.
And not surfers.
Okay.
But Adelaide.
Okay.
And the South Australian Motorsport Board open to hosting IndyCar on the Adelaide Street Circuit, but not the same weekend as Supercars.
Okay. Which has been a point of contention in the past.
Yeah, with surfers.
Correct.
In particular.
But Adelaide would want to host as a standalone event, not with Supercars there.
So
Makes
IndyCar,
sense.
again, looking to hold those non-championship rounds outside North America. This is from speedcafe.com, the Supercars category. Australia, on the wish list, Adelaide Street Circuit, a feasible option, thanks to the November date for its Supercars round, but it would not be the same weekend. So we'll see. Obviously it's very early goings, but it doesn't mean they'd race the same. Yeah,
is a good thing.
It doesn't mean again they'd race the same weekend, but IndyCar has interest, and the SAMB, which is the the South Australian Motorsport Board, is aware, and they promote the Adelaide Grand Final, which I think is the Supercars race. Said we look at all sorts of things in terms of motorsport options. Whole reason we went down the Speedway and also the Supercross paths is to look at different types of motorsports we can bring to South Australia. IndyCar really interesting. History in Australia. Been on the Gold Coast previously. So if that was an opportunity for Adelaide to look at doing something with IndyCar, we'd definitely look at it. But again, this is early goings.
Stadium Super Trucks were there last year with the V8 Supercars, I believe. Just looking at the layout here, it's kind of like a parkish area. It's interesting. The Senna chicane interesting part.
I'll believe it when I see it. But look, it's good that these discussions are happening.
Yeah, but we've seen a lot of discussions
right.
over the years. But I think it's a semi-permanent circuit, I believe.
Yes.
It's not just a, build from scratch type circuit. It's very much it's adjacent to like downtown Adelaide, but it's very much South Australia. That's a city. Did you know that? South Australia, Australia. It's the state.
Oh, okay. I was going to say it's like the state or province.
Yes. So, but it's a semi-permanent street circuit. If that makes sense.
Meanwhile, for future IndyCar schedules, a nugget thrown in by Marshall Pruitt of Racer.com on the Nashville promotion shifting to Penske Entertainment for IndyCar. As always, you keep reading. Second to last sentence of the story.
It's always in the last. And
talking about Penske does these events. They're taking over Long Beach, IMS, the two races there, Detroit, Iowa Speedway doubleheader, Milwaukee, Nashville, centrally involved the upcoming Arlington Grand Prix for 2026, and is active in the formation of a long-desired street race in Denver that's tentatively scheduled for 2027. So we have Arlington and Mexico City, we expect, for 26. You throw in Denver in 27. Hear me out. I see Denver as a potential finale possibility, replacing Nashville in 27 if Nashville doesn't do well next year. Yeah.
Labor Day is in what? Early September? What's the
late August, early September? I feel like it would work weather-wise.
Month. Let's see. My brother lives out near Denver. I should probably know this, but let's see. The average weather averages in Denver. I'm just wondering, like, how it should be good. I think. Do you feel that this could happen as early as 2027? Its first year.
Oh yeah,
I could see it.
Again, if Nashville isn't still on the schedule,
because you got to think it's way too hot to go Arlington that time of the year.
Yeah, that'll be in March.
But I can already hear the people complaining about a street course as the season finale. You hear that? You listen hard. You can hear them. It's got to be on an oval.
I mean, you look at the schedule and it's like, okay, what's going away? Like they like that 17, 18 race number. I mean, St. Pete's not going anywhere. I mean, this thermal, we'll see what happens year one. But St. Pete, Long Beach, Barber, 2 races at IMS, Detroit, Gateway, Road America, Mid-Ohio. Iowa probably goes down to 1 event. Toronto, Laguna Seca, Portland's iffy. Milwaukee's probably sticking around. And then Nashville, I think, is kind of iffy by 2027.
My hypothesis for thermal is the only reason it's a regular season event is because it needs to be a regular season event.
Yes.
To get to keep this at 17 with only 1 doubleheader on the schedule. If you have 20 unique events, I don't see thermal as being, I could see it as being a spring training locale. I could see it every couple years hosting some sort of $1 million challenge or something like that. Maybe before the season starts or something.
And make it actually worth $1 million.
Right. Not the $1 million asterisk challenge. But I really think the only reason thermal is there is because A, it fills that huge gap in the schedule between St. Pete and the rest of the schedule. And B, not only does it fill the gap, it fills the gap with races. So if I had to put which race right now is most likely to go away in the next couple of years, I'd say thermal.
And then my number 2 would be Portland.
Yes. There was an interesting question on why everybody hates Portland in the mailbag. Did you read that about?
Yeah. Read it for yourself. We're not going to go into the details.
No, but certain people have certain opinions of Portland, but like the racetrack's okay. I know there's just not a lot of excitement around the race, people-wise, but I don't know. If it makes money, who cares?
Meanwhile, the return of IndyCar to Milwaukee Mile, the economic impact study by the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater's Fiscal and Economic Research Center, $41 million contribution, the total contribution to the economy, 360 total jobs, $13.4 billion total labor income. So there you go.
It's a lot of money.
A lot of money. We'll see how that is impacted, though, in year 2 with only one race. I think that's a factor for sure.
True.
We haven't gotten to this, but 100 days to Indy, goodbye. This nugget released from Marshall Pruitt in the Racer.com mailbag this week. Honestly, I'd kind of forgotten about it. It had not been talked about in the offseason, but makes sense. No, there'd been no discussion. It's a bummer. I think they did a good job, with the exception of the covering the 500 itself last year. There's way too much focus on the weather and not enough on the race. But it was a good intro thing, but I just don't think you're you're bringing in enough casual fans. Obviously,
it didn't work.
It didn't work.
It didn't work.
I thought it was well done.
Yeah. I don't think there was anything wrong with the production, but the goal of it was to get on people's radar that otherwise aren't watching IndyCar, and I don't think it did that.
No. But hey, they got it on Netflix, so,
sure.
At least check that
Just
box.
put it right next to Drive to Survive on the menus for everybody.
Which Netflix apparently going after F1 rights, which, makes sense.
Really?
Yeah.
They're up. Were they up in the next year?
I think so. Let's run through the few other items. Scott McLaughlin, Joseph Newgarden will test the Porsche Penske Motorsport cars. Next week's IMSA sanctioned test at Sebring. So kind of a cool thing for them to get to do.
Could they be down there anyway for Daytona? Maybe one of them?
Or an IndyCar test, usually.
Well, I'm saying I'm just saying if they're going to be guests at the Daytona 500 we were talking about earlier.
Well, but IndyCar usually does a Sebring test in February as well, which I forget the exact date for that. Elsewhere on news items, so we talked about this before we started recording, the IMS Museum, which is set to reopen soon. In fact, tickets go on sale March 4th, I believe. Double check. Yes, March 4th, and then April 2nd will be the first day it's reopened to the public after their massive overhaul and kind of redesign, refresh. But they sold this very rare car. It is a Mercedes W196R for 51.155 million euros at auction. Most expensive F1 car ever. Second most expensive car in history. This was driven by legends like Juan Manuel Fangio and Sterling Moss.
So how does it look in your garage? You haven't sent me a picture of it yet.
I'm not driving it out and about in the wintertime. I'll save it for the summer.
You don't want salt getting on it or anything like that. Just an astronomical amount of money for a car.
Yes.
And people are wondering, why would the IMS Museum sell it? Well, it never raced at Indianapolis. Mm-hmm. So when they said, well, it kind of doesn't fit our mission, I understand that. But it also is going to fund a hell of a lot of stuff.
It helps pay for the remodel.
It would
without a doubt.
Yeah, it almost makes me nervous to have that in my possession. Like, it's a $53 million car.
Think how nervous I am.
Yeah, seriously, you've been jumpy all... But you keep checking it at home, making sure the wife's still making sure it's in there, and
cameras everywhere. No, if only. Elsewhere, Sebastian Bourdais, who had won the Rolex and he was stripped after the fact, name been mentioned for a possible Indy 500 ride. He was asked by Bob Pockrass and said that Bob would have to ask Chip Ganassi. So we'll see where that goes with that. McLaren could cut their IndyCar program, or they couldn't. I thought that story was a big non-story. It just felt
like a non...
They have a board. They have to answer to the board. They're reviewing McLaren's current participation in Formula E and IndyCar. They're always reviewing because they're run by a board. I don't know. I guess I wasn't really concerned.
It's just a big nothing burger, and then what do you expect? They're going to They always are evaluating existing entries in series and future entries in series. The end. That's it.
Yeah. Elsewhere, Target is going to start carrying Indy 500 licensed apparel from IMS online and in stores this year. And as Arne Shribben of IndyCar pointed out, IndyCar and Indy 500 officially licensed apparel have been available at brick and mortar shops like Abercrombie, Nordstrom Rack, and Aeropostale since April of 2004. So just as we saw NASCAR stuff and F1 stuff kind of getting popular the last couple of years and these types of places, IndyCar stuff as well.
You know where I'd like to see IndyCar stuff?
Where?
Fanatics.
Ooh, yeah.
How many people have gone into Abercrombie and Aeropostale in the last 10 years?
Well, I mean, we're not the target market for that.
No, but I mean...
I've actually gone into an Abercrombie in the last 10 years.
Really?
Yeah. Because my wife is younger than me, and so we were there like at the fashion mall, and we're looking around, and they had NASCAR stuff there, and I was like, oh, really? Interesting. Because, again, everything from the 90s is like cool again. So
yeah, it's all cyclical.
Late 90s, early 2000s.
I would love to see some IndyCar stuff on Fanatics.
Yeah, as long as Fanatics gets your stuff right and doesn't mess up the shirt or jersey, which they are prone to do.
Which I've never had that be a problem. I'm lucky.
Good for you. All I've seen are the posts online about it, and so I never want to buy anything from Fanatics.
Knock on wood. I've been lucky.
Jenna Fryer with this story from AP. Kevin Magnussen, no interest in a third return to F1, called IndyCar the series that got away as he transitions to sports cars full time. Maybe you could come back one time.
Maybe.
You would be welcome. Former IndyCar Indy 500 driver Arie Luyendyk, the English version of his book, Arie Luyendyk, The Biography of a Unique Racing Life, set to come out soon. He teased that a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Congrats to Kurt Cavan, obviously a longtime IndyCar writer for the Indy Star, been with IndyCar for several years, and IndyCar.com has been honored as one of the honorees for the Indiana Sports Writers and Sportscasters Association 2025 Hall of Fame Annual Awards. So part of this year's class. Congrats to him on that.
Remember the daily IndyCar Q&A?
Yes, I missed that. I missed that. I was thinking about that today.
It was like a miniature version of the mailbag, but every day he had a couple questions that people asked. It was every day.
It was good stuff. Love that back in the day. And this IndyCar adjacent, but Andretti Global's new HQ in Fishers, just outside Indianapolis. Apparently, they need more shop space in Indy because of their F1 admission and the cost cap. It's all complicated.
Well, basically, the rule is the cost cap is for F1 stuff only. So they want to separate, and they, meaning FIA, want to make sure that the F1 stuff is separated from every other thing, because it's people can say they're working on sports cars or Indy cars when they're actually working on F1 stuff, and it's just easier to monitor. My question is, why didn't Andretti think of this? This is not a new rule. Didn't they know this was a rule? Is my thing?
Yeah, you would hope.
I know it's been a couple years since a cost cap, but like, I would think they would have known that.
I mean, the whole point, here's the thing. One, it's kind of silly because the main shop is going to be in the UK.
Correct. It's an American team, but it's going to be based in Europe. Let's be real.
That's the main shop for F1. Yeah, you're going to do engine stuff in Concord, North Carolina with Chevy.
Yeah.
You're going to do a little bit of stuff in Warren, Michigan, outside Detroit, also with Chevy.
Right.
But the bulk of the team is in the UK. That's where they're hiring people for F1.
Yes.
And rightfully so. That's how this works.
Yeah, so let's not get anything mixed up here. But it is interesting. Like, this is not a new rule. Why is Andretti just now reacting to it? I don't know.
Don't know. So with that brings us to tweets of, I guess, the last couple of weeks. And there's really just one. And this was perfect. Alex Palou promo, IndyCar on Fox. I posted it. And Newgarden said, "My kid loved it."
Good stuff.
Thought that was perfect. And with that, anything that we missed, there was a lot. I feel like we did our best to consolidate.
I believe we did our best
the goings on
job
of the last couple weeks. Not that it was, surprisingly, we still don't have a coin card. Are we going to get to the first week of St. Pete here? I mean,
don't think so.
We're less than a month away.
I know. I feel like.
Do we have a driver by our episode next week?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think we have one. I was going to say by Valentine's Day, but that is next week.
Yeah, that's next Friday.
I'm going to say not till after Daytona.
Okay.
Before month's end, which I would hope so, because that's the week of.
So about like 2 weeks before the race.
Yeah, give me that 2 week window. Plenty of time.
All right, our random split air driver of the last couple weeks.
Well, this guy's not on my list. I don't know if we've done him, but Mr. Wim Ekmans.
I don't think so. How do you spell that?
Wim, W-I-M.
Okay.
And then Ekmans is E-Y-C-K-M-A-N-S. A very brief Wikipedia page, but in terms of his open wheel racing career, did Indy Lights, 3 races in Indy Lights in 1998, and then he did the Indianapolis 500 for Team Cheever in 1999. He actually finished 23rd in that race, in the Indianapolis 500 in 1999. He was born in Herentals, Belgium, and he started karting in 1986 and was in prototype racing since 2003. He did Formula 3000 in 1994, 1995 for his own team, Wim Ekman's team, and ran the Indy Light Series in 1998, as I mentioned, for 3 races. He competed in the Indianapolis 500 on behalf of Cheever Racing and finishing 23rd in that 1999 race, which was, who won the 1999 Indianapolis 500?
99. Let's see.
Was that Brack's year or was that 98?
That was Brack, yeah.
Kenny Brack won that race. Yeah. So that was 1999. And Wim Ekman started in the middle of row 10 that year, sandwiched in between Jimmy Kite and Johnny Unser, and just ahead of Dr. Jack Miller, and finished 23rd in the race. Looking at the top finishers in that race, I want to see how far behind he was. I
forgot to do my customary who.
Because I was waiting for.
I was never. I mean, we took a couple weeks off. I'm not.
Yes.
Up to snuff, but never heard of this guy.
This is interesting for the reason why he went out of that race. I don't see this very often. The timing chain broke. I don't even know if they still have a timing belt.
I have no idea.
Cars, but his timing belt went out, and that's why he finished 23rd. He was out at lap 113. A lot of attrition in the 1999 Indianapolis 500. Jarrett Schroeder, his engine blew and still finished 15th. Blew with 25 laps to go. But anyway, that's it for Wim Ekmans. He owns a successful karting company now, apparently now back in Belgium. He was one and done in the IRL in that 1999 Indianapolis 500 for Team Cheever. Raced for Brian Stewart Racing in 1998 in those 3 races in Indy Lights. He appeared at Vancouver, Laguna Seca, and Fontana, his 3 races in Indy Lights. And again, the 1 race in 1999. And that's it. Mr. Wim Ekmans, 51 years old, this week's Random Split Era Driver of the Week.
All right, that does it for us. And unlike last time, we actually will be back.
We will be back, yes.
It was unbeknownst to us is in terms of the...
It probably should have been, but it was not.
Yeah, it was not. That's our problem. But thankfully, IndyCar wasn't too crazy during those last couple of weeks. But now we'll build up to the start of the season. For Justin Kinney, I am Caleb Hatch. Thanks for joining us on New Track Record Podcast.